and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are here to recap the Carolina Panthers' absolute destruction of the Pittsburgh Steelers last night.
Yes.
Jerry and I did not record last night because, well, we got home pretty late.
Yeah, I got home at midnight, actually. So
yeah, me too. I was going to ask you how the train ride home was.
I didn't take the train home.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did. That's right. Your wife had a car.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, the train ride up was nice. I hear.
Yeah, it was easy.
And then, yeah. I drove and parked and paid $20 to park. And in hindsight, probably should have just taken the train. But it was worth it because we got to see the Panthers' first team starters on offense and defense. And they played pretty well. Yeah. They played pretty well.
I would say they played really well. I mean, defense gave up 60 yards in the first half.
Defense. I'm telling you, the defense is going to carry this team. Wherever this team goes this year, it's because of the defense. The defense is just going to be lights out.
I agree. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. What are 3 things you really liked about this game coming out of it?
Well, I just think that it looks to me, number one for me, that Sam Darnold has pretty good chemistry with these receivers. Mm-hmm. And by these receivers, I mean DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrace Marshall being the third guy, which maybe shouldn't be surprising, but it is a little surprising. Obviously, a rookie. We signed David Moore kind of as that third guy, but Marshall has supplanted him by quite a bit. I guess maybe kind of tying into that was just how involved Marshall really was. Only 3 catches for 43 yards, but a touchdown. And he just seemed like every time he got the ball, something good happened.
Yeah. Touchdown, 3 receptions. One was a first down on an important third down. One was a touchdown. I don't remember the third one, but I mean,
think it was just like a big play across the middle or something. But
yeah, so I mean,
yeah.
But I'm gonna go hop on that one. Sam Darnold. Okay, I have been wanting to see him. He did have a little bit of a happy feet at the beginning, but he calmed down. But he was making the right decisions. He had a lot of pressure on him, but he was making the quick, smart read, dumping it off, just doing everything correctly that we want to see from him. Or at least I wanted to see from him.
Yeah, so I saw someone from PFF tweet out today that Darnold's passing grade was a 53. He had 27 dropbacks, only 6.5 yards per attempt, only 4.5 yards in the air per attempt. 2 plays that could have been turnovers, maybe should have been turnovers. One of them I know I can remember. One of them I can't.
One was on a 4th and 2 where he just tried to fit it in. And on 4th and 2 in their 30-yard line, I have no problem with him attempting a dangerous pass.
That one. Yeah, there's that. That was the one I couldn't remember. The other one was a play where he threw to Robbie Anderson. He was just off. The timing was off for both of them. And Robbie Anderson's missed some time, by the way, in camp. So they're not quite there yet. But he said, so he's basically going against the grain, what we all saw, which looked good from Sam. He's trying to go against the grain here. You know what? I think that was the game plan for Sam Darnold, just to have some short throws, get that timing right with the receivers, don't really take any chances. Don't show any of the big plays that the Panthers have drawn up, and just kind of get out there and make some completions.
I mean,
that's what he did.
Yeah. Sam Darnold came out after saying this was a very vanilla offense. This is our basic vanilla offense. And I get that. So good job. They executed it correctly. They look good doing it. I know the Steelers only had the second string out there, so they didn't have to face TJ Watt and all those guys, but they did what they were supposed to. Yes, there's some issues, but we'll talk about that on the parts that we didn't like of the game. But I thought Sam Darnold, I feel a little bit more comfortable with him back there now after watching him do this in the preseason.
Yeah, and to your point, maybe start off a little shaky, but that second quarter, they were clicking on all cylinders offensively. I mean, they all looked good.
Yeah.
So, I guess, obviously we got to go defense, right?
Defense.
As our third thing we liked. The defense was swarming. That first team defense was all over Dwayne Haskins, not letting him get comfortable in that pocket at all. The secondary was everywhere. JC Horn was targeted like 3 times, I think, gave up no completions, had a pass breakup, I think first play of the game, maybe.
Dante Jackson. Yeah. We were sitting next to each other, and after like the second drive, I was like, Dante can get pulled because he's already proven that he looks good now. He's making open field tackles, making pass breakups. This defense, guys, it's going to be woo. Panthers defense may be back. It may have taken a few years off.
And you can't mention Brian Burns. Your boy, Spider Burns. Like, it just, it's kind of funny. You and I, when we started this podcast, we sort of took a player each, right? Mm-hmm. One guy that we just loved. You took Brian Burns. Me, I took Joey Slye. That worked out really well for one of us.
Well, to be fair, Brian Burns was the first-round draft pick. But at the time, when they first drafted him, I thought he was a little undersized and stuff. But then I saw him in the preseason just lighting through everybody. I was like, oh. And then Ron Rivera decides to sit him because, Ron Rivera.
Because he's Ron Rivera, yeah. But that's why he fell. That's why he fell to 16 was because he was a little undersized for what the play style, in the NFL. But, man, no, he's a monster. Like,
got his first interception of the NFL, so he was very excited about that. So, congratulations.
Yeah, I think the defense turned over three turnovers, I think, for the Steelers last night. No turnovers for the Panthers. Let's just go ahead and go a fourth thing we liked. 3 penalties for the Panthers all game. No turnovers for the Panthers all game.
Yeah,
love that. I mean, that shows. I mean, basically everything that we were looking for. Right? Get off the field on third down. Don't turn the ball over. Don't play sloppy.
Yeah.
They hit every single one.
And
look great.
The Steelers were 0-4 when their mixture of first and second stringers were out there. And Dwayne Haskins. I mean,
on third down, you mean?
On third down, yes, 0-4. They in the first half, the Steelers only had 60 something total yards. That is fantastic. And again, I understand who they're playing against, but that's what we needed to see. That's what I wanted to see against that type of opponent. Now, another great thing, DJ Moore, his hands look sticky because he didn't get the bombs thrown towards him, but everything thrown towards him caught. So I am very happy with the whole receiving core. The quarterback looked good. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the one thing I think is the only detriment to this team, the offensive line.
So it's going to hold the team back this year, unfortunately.
Matt Paradis, I don't know what was wrong with him. He usually looks better than that, but he kept getting pushed back, pushed around. Sam Darnold.
The interior of the line looked bad.
And Cam Irving.
Both guards. And, Irving didn't look great. But the interior of the line, the center and the 2 guards were horrendous. Really bad. And even Moton had a couple of missteps last night. Even he got pushed around a little bit. So, and this was, by the way, mostly the second team defense for the Steelers.
No TJ Watt. Let's be honest. No TJ Watt would have feasted yesterday against that offensive line. And the second string offensive line honestly looked better. I know they were going against the third stringers, lower level, but they looked a lot better. They were opening up holes for Brown. They seemed to give PJ a little bit more time, and they weren't perfect. But I wouldn't be surprised if they started looking at Deontay Brown to move up. Brady Christensen to move up because that O-line looks scary scary because Sam Darnold did the right things when he got pressure because he was under pressure a lot.
Yeah.
But we can't go up against some top tier defensive playmakers and have Darnold back there because unfortunately he's going to get hit and he could see ghost again. Let's be honest. That's what we don't want.
We've got Tampa Bay twice.
Mm-hmm.
And Tampa Bay has a pretty stout defensive line. New Orleans has a pretty stout defensive line. Atlanta, not so much. But it's, we're going to face some teams that are really going to take advantage, unfortunately. And I hope that the guys are on the team. Like you mentioned, those guys in the second half that played, they did look better. That the pocket looked cleaner. Mm-hmm. But man, it's really like this is what we feared. Mm-hmm. And Darnold just didn't have a lot of time. I read those stats from PFF that were, maybe make you look at Sam Darnold's night a little differently. This dude didn't have any time. No. Didn't have any time to throw.
And that's exactly what I said. When I looked and graded him in my mind, I was like, he's making the right quick decisions. I mean, if it has to be a dump off pass to get 3 yards, that's fine because otherwise he's on his back. He's fumbling the ball. He's getting sacked. I mean, 3 yards is better than negative yards.
Yeah. One more kind of thing that didn't love, but fully expected. Just a lot of Steelers fans in that stadium. I would say it was 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately. It's a preseason game. The Steelers fans left not happy. They were not cheering a lot during that game. There was not a lot for them to cheer for. So that was nice to see. But, I get it. Like, who wants to pay full price to go to a preseason game? The fact that the NFL does that, honestly, they should charge a quarter of the price for preseason games just to get kids in, get families in. Like, that's what you should do. Give the tickets away. I mean, my God, the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like, they could do a free game in the preseason for families. You'd foster new fans.
What I was going to say, that's a brilliant idea. If you do a half-price game, you foster more towards a family atmosphere, maybe even do some boys and girls club, like giveaway tickets. You're going to make that money up in concessions.
Yeah.
If not more.
Yeah. I mean, for kids especially.
Yeah. Sorry, another negative thing I wanted to go over. Only having a third of the concession stands open and up there. Oh, my God. I wanted a water and a beer. And I went out and there was like a line to the bathroom. I was like, I am not waiting 45 minutes for a water or a beer. That made me sad because I'm going to miss half the game. And I didn't want to do that.
So most of our negatives have nothing to do with the actual Panthers team, which is good. Which is a nice change from some of these previous preseason games. So definitely a more hopeful feeling coming out of this preseason game than the previous couple.
If the offensive line can hold together, if they can gel, if they can look a little bit better, this team, I really think is a playoff team. I think it's now hanging on offensive line. Sam Darnold would have to get better than he played here, be able to throw it downfield more. But again, that's a scheme. I really think this team could be a wild card playoff team.
Yeah, I'm really excited for week 1 for so many reasons, but I want to see how Darnold plays with the full playbook.
Yeah.
And CMC, by the way, we didn't even mention CMC did not play. He has not been out there in any of these games. We don't know what the offense is going to look like with him out there. Going to be way
rightfully
more dynamic.
So. Rightfully so.
Yeah, of course.
Does not to be
of course. So yeah, man, I mean, the future is bright for this team. It may not be this season, but all these guys are young. All these guys are hungry, and the team is only going to get better these next, 2-3 years. It's going to be really, really fun.
So can I ask a question here?
Uh-huh.
With DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrace Marshall, would you say that they have a top 5, top 3 receiver core?
Let me see a little more from Marshall in the regular season. But from what I've seen so far, yeah, I mean, of course. I think they were close to that with just Moore and and Anderson. Both of them with 1,000 yards last year with Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball.
I'm putting him there. I think this team may have 3 starters worthy that would either be number 1 or number 2 easily on every other team except for maybe the Buccaneers because.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think Marshall has a chance, 2-3 years down the road to be the number 1 receiver on this team. And last night, really, this preseason has done nothing but solidify that, that thought for me. So, well, let's run through some of the stats here. So Darnold, we've been talking about him, 19 for 25, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Only got sacked once, as bad as we, talked about the O-line, only got sacked once. A lot of that is just because he got the ball out so quick. Actually, I would say all of that is because he got the ball out so quick.
And I'm afraid that's how he's going to have to play this year.
Yeah. P.J. Walker, 5 for 10, 83 yards. Had a couple of nice throws, but overall just nothing. No touchdowns, no interceptions.
I was going to say a couple of those receptions or completions were due to the receivers, not due to him. That David Moore, David Moore made a great play on the ball, turned around and caught it. But if he would have put it on the money, that was like a 40-yard touchdown that he had a horrible throw. Another one to Shi Smith. He threw, yes, it hit his hands, but Shi Smith had to run, jump, leap, and it still barely touched him. So
yeah, I still think Shi Smith should have caught that ball, but it would not have been a simple catch.
No.
And then Will Grier, 5 for 7, 47 yards, no touchdowns, no receptions. Did run in a touchdown, Will Grier. So Will Grier did get some points on the board. Looking at rushing. Oh, by the way, does this change anything for you in terms of backup quarterback? It seems like, PJ got the start in the second half.
I think
didn't blow me away.
I think it's going to be exactly what my 53-man roster said. PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, and to be determined. I think they will find somebody else. Gardner Minshew was just traded for a 6th-round draft pick. Could be a 5th if he starts more than 2 games. I would have loved that. I think Gardner Minshew. That would have been a great
deal. Yeah. You could cut PJ and Will Grier and bring in Minshew, and I'd have been happy with that.
Honestly. Me too.
I think, honestly, think Grier has played better in the preseason than PJ. I know one of your main points is that PJ has more familiarity with Rule. Rule has more familiarity with PJ from college. I don't know that that's so much of a big deal anymore with him coaching both of them last season in the NFL. So I don't know. I think it's completely up in the air. I honestly have no idea who's going to get the backup.
I just typically lean towards that familiarity because I agree. I think Will Grier looked better this preseason than PJ Walker.
Yeah. If I had to put money on it, I would say Grier. Grier gets it.
Okay.
So looking at the rushing now, we weren't really, Chuba had one nice run really. 10 for 35 otherwise. Spencer Brown looked the best out of all the running backs, 11 for 57 and a touchdown. Touchdown.
And that was with that second string offensive line because that's where he gained most of the yards. When he played with the starters, he wasn't getting much. So it goes back to the fact that I don't think they're opening up holes for Chuba or Spencer. And CMC can make his own holes sometimes with a little bit of a juke, but that's scary.
Yeah. Grier was the 3rd leading rusher, 3 for 22, had a 24-yard touchdown run himself, which by the way, we were changing seats at the time, didn't get to see it live, but I did watch it. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he made a nice little move. Juked a guy right out of his shoes.
Should we nickname him Wheels? Wheels?
No.
Wheels Grier?
He looked pretty slow. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was the slowest 24-yard touchdown run I've seen in a long time. But nobody else really to discuss there in rushing. And then going to receiving, DJ 6 for 48 on 6 targets. Tommy Tremble second in receiving yards, 2 for 45 on back-to-back catches. One of them a nice little juggling fall into the ground, and it fell into his lap catch.
Hey, stick with the play.
Only 2 targets for him, and he caught both of them. So, and by the way, you admit you saw in the game, you told me he looks pretty fast for his size. And yeah, I agree. Like he looked good running the ball. And then Marshall 3 for 43 and a touchdown. Let's see, Dan Arnold 3 for 25, Shy 2 for 21. Robbie had a touchdown, only 2 catches for him. Chuba did have 3 receptions for 15 yards, so add that to his total. So 50 total yards for Chuba. Ian Thomas, I think, had the first catch of the game, maybe, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So
Robbie Anderson, that touchdown catch, that was impressive. That back shoulder catch, snag it out of the air. Just saying, that was very impressive.
Yeah. Really nice. Good throw, good catch.
Yeah.
That was a great play from both of those guys. So that's pretty much it on the offensive side. And just looking at defense here real quick, Sean Chandler with 5 total tackles led the team. Dante Jackson, 4 tackles. And again, these guys didn't play a full game, so you can't ask for much. Only 1 sack for the Panthers. It was Yetur in the third quarter, I think, maybe fourth quarter. No other sacks, which is a little surprising for me. Only 3 QB hits. But I think the pressures, which ESPN doesn't have the pressures, but I know the pressures were up there.
Now we've kind of gone through these. I don't want to go with the starters here, but out of the other, the second, third stringers, who do you think helped their stock to make the 53-man roster the most?
In this game?
In this game?
Oh, let's see.
I'm gonna go ahead and while you're thinking.
Yeah, I know who you're gonna say.
There's a couple players I want to say. I'm gonna start off with Miles Hartsfield. I think he looked really good out there knocking the balls down, and he played against their second stringers. I think he solidified himself on this roster with that.
Okay, I've got mine.
Okay, go.
Ryan Santosa.
Well, yeah. Yes.
In fact, we know for a fact that he solidified himself on this roster because Joey Sly is no longer on this roster.
Yeah, Joey Sly was released.
Ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he would have panned out, but unfortunately not. Another one, Stanley Thomas Oliver. I thought he played pretty well out there.
Was he on either of our 53-man roster prediction? I know he wasn't on mine.
I think he may have been on mine.
Okay. I don't have mine anymore, so.
I'm trying to look mine up.
Frankie Luvu, I think, was already pretty much solidified. I think the fact that they traded Perryman away signaled that. But he also had a couple of really nice plays. I think I would agree with you on Hartsfield. He made some nice plays. And then there was another guy that made a couple of nice plays, too, that I can't.
Because Etor's there. He had a pretty good game, a tackle for a loss and a sack.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, he was already going to make this team. He's in that rotation.
Yeah. I mean, C.J. Saunders, I'll say, it seemed like he caught all of the punts that got kicked to him, which is, for this team, historically, you can say is a really nice luxury to have. Didn't really make anybody miss on the returns. But it seemed like he's the guy at punt return, unless they just didn't want to put whoever is the main punt returner out there.
Yeah.
I thought Trenton Cannon would have a little. He didn't have any play in this game, so that he made my final roster, and I don't think he'll end up making the team.
And one thing to say, too, about that return man, I thought Shi Smith had a chance to do that as well. But with that shoulder injury, it seems like it's going to be a significant shoulder injury that he suffered during the game.
That's what rule says, yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but I could see them putting him on IR if he's going to be out for 6 weeks or so. And then that way they could stash him for the rest of the year.
And the good news is this IR boomerang thing that kind of came in last year with COVID is sticking around.
Yeah.
So they
3 years, 3 games.
Bring them back after 3 games. Yep. So that's nice. So, normally you might have to think about, well, are we going to shut this guy down for the whole year?
Yeah.
Because we don't know how long this is going to be, but it gives you a nice luxury. This is long overdue, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I would say, go ahead.
I was going to say the NFLPA probably should be fighting for that, because that just adds more players to the practice squads, and I believe they're continuing on with the expanded practice squad too.
Yeah,
so
16-man practice squad, so normally 10. So
yeah.
Let's just real quick look at the Steelers. Dwayne Haskins, 9 for 16, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That touchdown was, I think, on the last drive. He came in for an injured Josh Dobbs, who was 6 for 11, 35 yards in the second half. These guys just did nothing, honestly. Like, Benny Snell led the team in carries, 8 for 28. Nobody else got more than 3 carries. Ray McLeod, former Panther, 4 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown, but on 9 targets. So he got shut down pretty well. And Chase Claypool came out, had a couple of targets, 1 catch for 18 yards. A nice catch, saved a first down for him.
Yeah, that was backyard run around.
Yeah,
he got
scramble play. He got
that was their first down. I think it was sometime in the second quarter. So
yeah, right. I think that was their first down, and maybe one of the few of that first quarter for them. So or first half for them. And then just looking again, a couple of sacks for the Steelers. Jameer Jones got a sack. Loudermilk got a sack. Really nice last name there, Loudermilk. 6 QB hits for them, though. Just again, this offensive line, man, like, even though they were only sacked a couple of times, 6 QB hits, and that's going to start adding up. And again, this was the second and third string defense for the Steelers. So,
and the Steelers are a very good defensive team. I want to say that. I know we're saying second, third string, but it's not. It's a scary proposition that Sam Darnold, who never had a good offensive line in the Jets, comes here and our offensive line is not looking better. It looks worse than it did last year so far. And I mean, there's that comment of him seeing ghosts. I mean, you got to keep this guy upright and not hit so much.
Yeah. That's, and cuts are coming. Cuts are coming Tuesday. There will be offensive linemen cut. I fully expect the Panthers to sign multiple offensive linemen to bring them in here to have a look at them. So I fully expect that to happen. So that what we saw tonight last night may not be the final product. And I hope it's not the final product, honestly. All right. So heroes and zeros.
Heroes and zeros.
Go ahead. Who you got for your hero?
For my first hero, I'm giving it to Sam. First action of the season. He looked good out there. 19 to 25. I mean, he made the smart plays. He got hit a lot. He got under pressure, but he didn't see the ghost. He seemed good. He had a little happy feet at the first, but again, this is kind of why you and I were discussing that he should have probably played a little bit more last game or even the first game. But it looked like he settled down, and looking forward to seeing what he has.
I'm going to give it to a guy that I think we overlooked when talking about guys that made the roster last night. I'm going to go Spencer Brown.
Yeah.
11 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown, and looked good almost every time he ran the ball. I think, given the injury to Bonifant and Rodney Smith didn't play at all last night, that Spencer Brown may be the third running back on this team.
He looked like it.
Yeah.
I mean, he stayed healthy. That's one thing other players haven't seemed to been able to do. And he looked good.
And by the way, honorary hero to Brian Burns, really the whole defense. Like,
yeah.
J.C. Horn, everybody, Dante Jackson, the whole defense, the first team defense gets like a whole hero award because
Derek Brown
looked great. Yeah.
I do want to give an honorary mention for a hero. The drug dog that jumped on me while we were walking outside the stadium.
I was going to give him a 0.
Well, yeah, because he started. Okay, so Steve and I are walking to the stadium. We were walked by the the drug dog, and he comes after me and jumps on me. And I'm so used to my dogs and other dogs just jumping on me. I just kind of like nudge him away, not thinking about. Then I realize what's going on. I turn around, and his handler's like, "Do you have anything on you?" I start emptying my pockets. Like, no, I do not. I am not.
He turns and walks off. Like, doesn't say anything to you.
Yeah, like
it's kind of weird.
It was very weird.
It was strange. But yeah, so that was pretty funny. 0 for me. I mean, there's a couple of options here. I think I'll probably go with Paradis. Just, was it kind of a turnstile last night. And really indicative of the whole offensive line, unfortunately, but he's gonna get the 0 from me.
He was getting my 0 too. Same reasons. Like you said, the whole offensive line, Cam Irving, John Miller, all of them, Pat Elflein, didn't look good out there, the first string guys. Taylor Bowden had a false start, and he got pushed back into Sam Darnold one time, I know in particular, so he didn't even look great. But Paradis had the worst game of them all. So,
yeah. And you could also give one to Joey Sly. I mean, he lost his job on this team. I hate to pile on, but you miss your first field goal
after struggling 2 weeks.
Yeah, after struggling for 2 weeks, and then he got like an extra point, I think, at the very end, but that too little too late at that point because Santoso had made a 52-yarder. Now he banged it in off the crossbar. But given the circumstance where the night before, basically he's flying in on a red eye from New York, doesn't even know 90% of the players' names on this team, doesn't know the field.
He doesn't know the holder.
He doesn't miss a kick. Yeah, right. Doesn't know the holder, and it doesn't miss a kick. So sorry, Joey. I mean, this guy. You had your opportunity. There was no other kickers in camp until last week.
Yeah. So that 52-yarder looked like it had a few yards spare, if it's between the uprights more. But he has a leg.
0 yards to spare. It just the inside of that upright, but he has the leg. Yeah.
So
for sure.
And not knowing a holder, that's a big thing for kickers, is their holder, knowing how they're going to do it. So
yeah.
All right.
What was our beer bet? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was Joey Sly versus the Utah State guy. But I did text you and let you know that since I'm switching it to Santoso since, the other guy got released.
Yeah, so you won. So your first beer bet victory of the season. Congratulations.
Yes.
Let's see. What else? Oh, our score predictions. You got pretty close.
Yeah. I believe it. Mine was 30-13.
13.
30 to 13.
Like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was 28-14. So really not far off from me either. But both of us thought that the Panthers would have a pretty resounding victory, and they did. So,
yeah.
Nice to come out with a victory, even though it's preseason. Doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it looked nice and it felt good.
It felt good, and this is what I wanted to see from the team, honestly, with Pittsburgh not starting everybody and everything. I wanted Carolina to dominate, especially in the first half, and that's exactly what they did. Both sides of the ball, they dominated. So,
and they intentionally left points on the board. Panthers did. There was at least one obvious opportunity for a field goal that they would have gone for in a regular season, maybe two. In fact, there were two. And they probably would have been up 23-0 at halftime if this was week 1 of the regular season. So, yeah. Assuming that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't play any of their starters.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to do it.
Yep. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on our show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
We'll be back sometime this week to talk about something. I know we're going to go through and do our game-by-game predictions here at some point. We'll talk about the roster, the final 53-man roster. But no game this weekend.
No
games at all. So no game preview. But we will have some content this week, at least one episode, maybe two. We'll see how things go. Maybe they'll sign that starting left tackle, and we'll do an emergency podcast for that.
and there's a rumor circling right now from Pro Football Talk News, NBC affiliate, stating that Deshaun Watson will be traded this week, and the Panthers are the front runner. I am not believing in that right now, but if something like that happens,
team beat reporters, Elena Getzenberg and Joe Person specifically, have both said that per sources from the Panthers, they are not interested at this time. So could that change if the compensation changes, or, Matt Rule looks at tape and sees something he didn't like in Darnold? That could change in a minute.
Yep.
Matt Rule is the master of, hey, this guy looks great, and then he's gone the next day. So could be the opposite with Deshaun Watson. All right. Well, until next time, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.